government's budget serves as a fiscal program of action and is part of government's overall development program. The budget 2017 is aimed at stimulating economic growth, ensuring progress in infrastructural development, advancing the push toward a green state, and the provision of robust educational social programs that benefit all Guyanese. On this episode of Government in Action and for the weeks going forward, we will take a sectoral look at the provisions that the government has placed in the 2017 budget that will ensure national development. In his last address to the National Assembly in October, President David Granger laid out the current economic environment, which foretold the need for increased government revenue to ensure that the balance of payments is met. Guyana had incurred a number of liabilities and debt that his administration inherited when it took office in May 2015. These include millions of dollars in compensation as a result of court decisions, an ailing national insurance scheme in Gaisuco, and mismanagement of the Petro-Carib Fund. In spite of these adversities, the government was able to institute wage increases, raise the income tax threshold, and increase pension and public assistance over the past 18 months. However, mindful of the state of the economy, the government had to ensure that the macroeconomic stability is maintained.
The economic legacy that this nation inherited was characterized by a lack of strategic planning and whimsical decision-making. The absence of a policy to provide employment opportunities for youth and to reduce extreme poverty, and the failure to energize the manufacturing sector weakened our economy. Economic mismanagement was accompanied by huge debts for unpaid international obligations and court judgments. The most grave financial problem was the bankruptcy of the Guyana Sugar Corporation, which owed $89 billion in debt. That's billion. Your government was forced to divert money from economic development and social programs to rescue the ailing corporation with an immediate injection of $12 billion. An additional $11 billion had to be provided the next year, 2016, making a total of $23 billion bailout in 18 months.
On November 28, the APNU-AFC government presented to the National Assembly its $250 billion budget under the theme Building a Diversified Green Economy, Delivering the Good Life to All Guyanese. Presented by Minister of Finance, Mr. Winston Jordan, Budget 2017 was the third budget to be presented by the coalition government during its 18 months in office, and the first in 4 decades to be presented before the start of the fiscal year. During the budget presentation, Minister Jordan outlined several transformative measures in the name of improving economic performance and defining a sustainable pathway to a more prosperous state.
This is why we have chosen as a theme for this budget, building a diversified green economy, delivering the good life to all Guyanese. In doing so, we will be employing a number of strategic approaches to achieve our objectives. These include stabilizing the macroeconomic and public finances, preparing for oil and gas production, encouraging and supporting entrepreneurship, in particular those that involve new green technologies and processes, creating more job opportunities, increasing the focus on innovation so as to increase domestic production and boost exports, moving towards a smart Guyana that bridges the digital divide, reforming business facilitation and expanding economic horizons, building climate-resilient infrastructure for economic expansion and linking the coastland and hinterland, lifting the quality of life, addressing poverty, and reforming the public and financial sectors.
The minister declared that government aims to deliver these ambitious goals to the people in spite of troubling economic and social indicators.
We inherited an economy that was built essentially on the proverbial sun and running on the proverbial fumes. It is an economy which, in spite of positive growth rates, averaging 4.5% in the period 2010 to 2014, remains undiversified and incapable of withstanding even small shocks. It is hardly surprising, therefore, that we are reaping the whirlwind of downturns in these sectors it will take more than just traditional policies and approaches to turn them around. What we need is a growth strategy that is broader in scope and more diversified in outlook.
Though Guyana will see only a 2.6% growth rate in the economy by the end of 2016, the government has introduced measures that will bring economic relief to many Guyanese. Some key measures are the reduction of value-added tax from 16% to 14%. The reduction in VAT was a campaign promise, and one that the government is introducing in a phased approach, which allows it to still maintain tax revenues to finance the country's development programs. Increase in the tax threshold from $55,000 to $60,000, the second increase in the threshold under this government. This measure means that public servants working for less than $60,000 per month will not pay income tax, and those with salaries above the threshold will enjoy a lower tax burden on their overall income. Further to increasing take-home pay, the government has reduced the personal income tax rate from 30% to 28% for individuals earning less than $180,000 per month. There has also been the introduction of a progressive income tax regime, which sees 40% tax being applied to incomes of persons earning more than $180,000. Increase in old age pension from $18,200 to $19,000. Old age pension has seen significant increase since this administration took office, moving from $13,125 to $17,000 in 2015 to $18,200 last year, and now to $19,000 in the 2017 budget. Even as government has granted these tax breaks, taxation and other revenue-enhancing measures must be put in place to continue along the course of development. The budget therefore includes several measures in taxation and other areas that seek to achieve this goal. But the measures of taxation and other aspects of the budget were met with criticism from stakeholders, who raised issues with some matters, including the announcement that VAT would be charged on electricity consumption in excess of $10,000 per month and on water consumption in excess of $1,500 per month. Members of the Private Sector Commission expressed concerns that VAT on the two utilities have the potential to negatively impact businesses, consumers, workers, and citizens on a whole. In December, the PSC, along with the Guyana Trade Union Congress and the Federation of Independent Trade Unions in Guyana, penned a letter to the leaders of the National Assembly to meet and discuss a number of critical issues pertaining to the 2017 national budget. But government has held fast that these and other measures are put in place to bolster the economy and set a paradigm shift from the economic woes that were inherited. Minister of Business, Mr. Dominic Gaskin, in an interview on the Budget in Focus, stated that while the PSC has the right to raise their concerns, the budget must be assessed holistically in order for the gains to be measured.
I was expecting a more global assessment of the budget rather than simply listing all the measures and saying, well, this one impacts positively on businesses, this one impacts negatively on businesses. Given the fact that, this $163 billion of tax revenue has to be collected somehow. These are all the possibilities for us to collect this money. So we have to take a bit from here, a bit from there, a bit from... If we could reduce all the taxes, but then something will have to be cut in terms of government services. So the money has to be raised. Any responsible government has to collect taxes in order to fund its programs. So, from that standpoint, I thought that the positive, negative impact approach, on a one-by-one basis, did not really do justice to what the budget was about.
Speaking on the concerns for taxation expressed by stakeholders, Minister of Public Security, Mr. Kemraj Ramjatan, said that income tax is a fundamental part of any growing society that seeks to secure a country's sustainable development. Government has held fast that the measures in Budget 2017 seek to fix the decline of the economy inherited by the previous administration, and that the provisions and decisions will boost economic growth for all Guyanese. Minister Jordan, in his closing remarks at the budget debate on December 9, responded to several of these criticisms levied by the opposition and other stakeholders. The minister stated that the presentation of the budget at the beginning of the fiscal year is a practice that is not new, as the earliest budgets from 1968 to 1977 took the same course. He stated that a budget that comes out after the fiscal year ends in a truncated budget, and that the PSC should understand especially that an early budget will also benefit them significantly.
An early budget facilitates efficient and effective planning of programs and activities as well as their execution. With 12 months within which to do so, budget agencies can now space out their activities more evenly and are in a better position to manage the related financial flows. This in turn will facilitate greater observance of the relevant legislation, rules and regulations regarding the use of public funds and assets. Additionally, since government expenditure sets the tone for economic activities throughout all sectors of the economy, an early budget will have a significant beneficial effect on the economy.
The administration was also accused by the opposition of not conducting relevant consultations in the composition of the budget, to which Minister Jordan rebutted by explaining that while some groups responded to invitations to meet his team of budget planners, several, such as the political opposition, declined. Consultations for the national budget were conducted over a period of 5 months. In the area of tax reform, Minister Jordan explained that many of the tax measures implemented were informed by the Tax Reform Committee, which was established by this government to review the tax system. Among the consultations that the TRC made include recommendations for the VAT on electricity and water over specified amounts.
The Tax Reform Committee said the water and electricity authorities should determine the levels of consumption required for an average household, and the VAT should be applied to levels above this amount. Did we do that? Yes. Did we do that? Yes. So, whose pocket we picking? And why these people who have made these recommendations to us and their guidance now can't have the bigness to indicate we made those recommendations because they're good for Guyana, and we stand by them.
Meanwhile, Minister of Social Protection, Ms. Waldo Lawrence, responded to criticisms by the opposition that the old age pension increase is insufficient. She reminded the House that the old age pension was $13,125 in 2015 when the APNU-AFC government took office, and with the proposed 2017 increase, with effect from January 1, the amount will stand at $19,000. She also explained to the House how the former government's light and water subsidy arrangement was flawed.
In the past 18 months, this government, the APNU-AFC government, have increased the old age pension by some 4 to 5%. Sir, I wish to state that the incentives that the opposition implemented for the elderly to be exempt from the payment of electricity and water, it lacked transparency and did not benefit all the elderly consumers. Sir, you had to be a consumer of the Guyana Power Light Company. In Region 1, in all 3 of the sub-regions, there is no GPL. In Regions 8, there is no GPL. In Regions 9, there is no GPL. In Region 7, Upper Maz, Lower Maz, there is no GPL. And I can go on and on, Mr. Speaker. There is no GPL in several areas, and hence, sir, the records will show that in 2014, only 10,000 persons benefited from that electricity program.
Overall, President Granger on the public interest said that the budget introduced a number of measures that are aimed at stimulating the economy and creating employment. Key among which is the reduction of the value-added tax from 14% to 16%, reduction of income tax from 30% to 28% for persons earning less than $180,000 per month, and increase in old age pension and public assistance.
So I think it's a rounded budget. It caters for economic change, it caters for social protection, and it caters for greater security in terms of the ability of citizens to live in peace and safety from criminal attack. So taken as a whole, I think the budget provides for all of the needs of citizens during financial year 2017. That is my overview. Everything has been covered. There are 15 ministries, and any citizen reading the budget could see for himself or herself what is going to happen in education, what's going to happen in public security, what's going to happen in public infrastructure, what's going to happen in public health, what's going to happen in public telecommunications. And every citizen can follow where we are now and where we're going to. So my overview is that it is a budget which is easy for citizens to follow and come to conclusions themselves.
Detailed analyses of Budget 2017 also delve into the transformative measures that will place Guyana on a pathway of rapid development over time. Next week, we will continue with a detailed look at Budget 2017 and allocations that will seek to ensure developments within the agricultural and natural resources sector and the advancement of Guyana's green agenda. This is Jasmine Payne. Thank you for joining us.